You're listening to Brandon Sports Talk, interviewing professional athletes and Paralympians and Olympians. And now for your professional athlete interview and your host, Brandon P. Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege of interviewing the Illinois State's head women's soccer coach, Coach Raleigh DeRose. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for having me here.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college women's soccer?
Absolutely. So, first and foremost, I grew up on the sidelines. My dad was a college coach for years. And so, with him being in the profession, I was able to get a really good snapshot of the lifestyle and just how emotionally exciting it is. But also, too, what passion really truly looks like. And being able to witness that firsthand is such a privilege. And as soon as I was old enough and able to really understand fully what that meant, I felt as though it was something that I wanted to take on in my adult life too. So knowing that I loved the game and knowing that I wanted to have that same excitement energy for my job every day, I thought that I would potentially, be a coach or work in college athletics, but I figured I would let life take me where I'm supposed to be. And thankfully enough, I had somebody approach me about an assistant coach job before I graduated from my senior year of college. And I was able to take the job and become fully invested even more so in being a coach. And from the first day that I started, I really enjoyed it. And here I am now. So grateful for the experience I had as a youth, but also too, like thankful for the people that put opportunities in front of me and the people that also encouraged me to pursue those opportunities too.
How was that experience like, as you said, growing up where your father was a coach and now in your adult life, you're now a coach?
I think it's great because I can definitely, talk to him about just the highs and the lows of the profession or the highs and lows of the day. But it's something that I really do value having that relationship with him and having that like point of interest is to have like more communication. And also to like further our relationship as father and daughter. I think, certainly like being able to have similar interests with anybody that you have a relationship with strengthens your bond. But when it's family, you do feel like you can talk about really anything, whether it's soccer related, leadership related, or something as simple as, making a schedule that's going to be productive for your team. So I really do truly value his experiences. And I know that like a lot of people would be so excited to have him in their corner. And I know that not only am I excited, but I'm also really grateful too, because it's a privilege and it's something that I don't take lightly.
For you, what was that experience like in college playing collegiate soccer for Knoxville College?
So for me, being a soccer player at Knox College was a really great point, I think, of course, of my college experience, but also I feel like it helped lay the cornerstones of what I want to be and who I want to be as a coach. So again, thankful for the opportunity. Every opportunity you have leads you to where you are now. So, certainly like any college soccer player can say, there's highs and there's lows, but I think that all of them together helped me to become, or at least have a good vision of who I want to be as a head coach. And I have to say, like, I've enjoyed the experiences, of course, along the way, but more importantly, the people that it brought me to, and, just having good foundations to build upon.
What was that experience like putting on that uniform in college and representing them?
I think that anytime that you put on a uniform for a school or a club or an organization that you have a lot of pride for, it means something. So I was, again, thankful to be at the school and I love the opportunity that was given to me. So putting on the jersey meant a lot. And, again, the people that you're playing with too, definitely, can make you love the experience even more. So that's another reason that I loved putting on the jersey, was I knew that I had good teammates and good people around me, that were also fighting on the field wearing the same jersey.
During your collegiate time, what were some of your biggest accomplishments as a player?
So this one I feel like isn't necessarily noted in a record book or on a bio, but after my freshman season, I actually had a reconstructive knee surgery where they put in new cartilage and they also had to break my leg in two places to restabilize my patella. And it was an 18-month recovery. And the doctor told me there was a 50% chance that I wouldn't play again. And so, although I feel like that can't necessarily be quantified in stats, The fact that I was able to, after my sophomore year, rehab and be back on the field to play almost every minute of my junior and senior year and be elected as a captain my senior year, is a huge feat. And it's a huge feat because it's a testament to like what hard work, commitment, and just vision for what you want your dreams to be. And I guess again, the commitment to execute that, it shows where it can take you. And I know that's not everybody's story. Like people have injuries that sadly end their career, and it could have been me as well. But the fact that I was able to come back and rehab that is something I'm really proud of, because it was a lot of work, and it's something that I didn't take lightly. I took my rehab like it was a job. And had I not done that, I know I wouldn't have been able to finish out playing. So I am proud of myself for that. I think that that's not something that you necessarily like know by reading a bio, but that determination and grit, I feel like identifies who I am and who I want to continue to be as a person, as a coach. And I think that was, again, when I talk about experiences that make you, that's an experience that made me too.
Of course, with that experience, what was that process like, as you said, recovering and rehabbing to come back in your senior year and playing?
I think, for lack of a better term, it was definitely difficult, but it's the social, it's the emotional, it's the physical difficulties. Certainly you're at first in pain, and then you're bedridden and you see everybody else running and playing and training, and it's hard to watch because you want to be a part of it so badly, but you're in pain. And then there's the points where you make progress in your rehab and you're excited about that, but you still want more. And that's hard as a recovering or an athlete that's in rehab, because you're conditioned to go harder, go faster, push more. But when you can't, you feel like a piece of you is missing a little bit. So you have to learn how to harness that. So for me, I always wanted to do more. So instead of showing up to rehab once a day, I decided to show up 3 times a day. Instead of, taking any type of ice once a day, I took it 3 times a day. If I could be on the elliptical, I'd be on the elliptical and doing rehab. If I could be doing, something on the bike, I would try to bike twice a day. Or I would always be asking my trainers, what more can I do? Because I felt like if I was able to treat that like I would be treating training, with how hard I was working and how much I was pushing and always looking to do more, I was going to find myself back out on the field some way, somehow. So I would say that it was difficult, but of course, like again, for lack of a better term, there's so many other ways that I could go into that. But I think it's difficult to sum it up, because you always want to go more or go harder and do more as an athlete. So being able to harness that was a process. But when I got there, I felt like it really helped me push through that breaking point to where I could get back out on the field again.
During your time as a collegiate player at Knox, what was it like, and who were some of your inspirations that implemented your game?
So I think like an inspiration for me, always, like my dad and my brother have always been really big in my life. My dad's a coach, my brother's also a college coach. So being able to watch my brother go through the college recruiting process at that time, he was really, a up and coming goalkeeper in the area. So although I wasn't a goalkeeper, watching him make some big time saves and big time moments, it inspired me to want to be the best player for my team, because I could see how hard he was working for his. My dad has always been a really good vision of what hard work and determination and leadership is. And so of course I wanted to implement that, and that looks different between a coach and player, but that's always an inspiration. And like I think aside from that too, like, I had really good teammates that I wanted to play hard for. Like there's too many to name, but people that I really cared about that I wanted to work hard for. And I think at the end of the day, if whether you're winning or losing or making mistakes or having these great successes, if you can lay your head down at night saying you're working hard for them, like you can be honest about who you are as a person, as a player.
How was that transition like for you, going from being a player to coaching at your alma mater?
So for me, I wanted to make it really clear that it was a profession and that I wasn't one of the girls. And there was definitely some difficulties with that. I mean, you walk across the stage at 22 and then you become a coach of players that you played with. Like there's that relationship piece or that friendship piece that you don't want to lose, but you also can't let that define the relationship that you have on the field. So I think for me, just, closing off certain conversations and being open to only like the soccer and the coaching piece when you're on the field was really important. And really just throughout my time, even on campus. And then, as you get older and you both go your own ways, you can resume that relationship. But I think for me, it was definitely a couple of things. One, it was, making sure that they knew I was a coach and that I was going to speak to them like a player and they were going to speak to me like a coach, and not letting anything else be accepted. And then also too, one thing that I did when I first started working at Knox was I did dress up to go into the office, like in professional attire, because I wanted them to know, and I wanted the department to know too, that of course I was thankful to work there, but I wanted to be treated as like as a coach, as an adult, as a worker there, and not just a former athlete. So that was another thing that I did. And I think just getting dressed every day and putting on professional clothes definitely puts you in a professional mindset as well. And then of course, like how of course, making sure that in meetings or in contacts or other types of like communication that you're really professional, whether that's email, in person, shaking hands well, and just being a good face for the university at all times is always important, but especially when you're a young worker, like really showing your professionalism and your grit is never goes unnoticed, but showing up at the right times with that too is important.
As a coach, what were some of your biggest accomplishments at your alma mater?
So for me, I was part of a staff that brought in 29 players to a program that needed to be reinvigorated. So going from what we were in last place to the next year losing in overtime in the conference tournament with those 29 players was really something that I hold close to my heart and I really value. I also think that being able to have some great pieces of history within the program and being a part of that as a coach is something that I really hold near and dear to my heart. Again, that overtime loss in the conference final being one of them, but in the semifinals, we beat the number 1 seed, which I don't believe the school had beaten the number 1 seed in a conference tournament in years. And then also having people go down in the record books as, leading goal scorers or recruiting or leading assist getters, like things like that. They do mean a lot. And I do hold those really close to my heart, even though I'm not working there anymore. I still have a lot of pride in the school naturally, but I still am proud to have helped and assist in that.
As a coach, what was it like getting a coach on the Ivy League level and going to Brown?
So for me, I feel like being at Brown and working with the incredible people that I've worked with, it really shaped me who I am now as a coach, and I'm incredibly and eternally grateful for that. And I wouldn't be sitting here without that. So I want to be really like honest and clear about that. But being at the Ivy League and being at such a high level, being in a top 25 program, it does show you not only what it's like to be at a high level academically and athletically, but I also think it shows you what it takes to sustain that from a recruiting perspective, from a management perspective, from a training perspective, from a scout, post game, all of the things that you as a coach think about, but when you're in it, you really are able to take note. And when you're in it for 8 years, like I was able to see good patterns. I was able to see good habits. I was able to and see good people execute those good habits and patterns. And I'm thankful for that. And I also think that, being able to be at a school like Brown, certainly I was able to live away from home for the first time. I was able to, really create my own identity as a person and as a coach and meet people that have changed my life forever. And I'm again, I can't even say how thankful I am for that. But I would say that those are some aspects to me being able to work at Brown and have those experiences on the field with the head coach, Kia McNeil and Matt Moniz and Andre Reese. And then aside from that, I also think that being able to see at that level where success can really take players. I know that you're going to mention this later on in one of your questions, but it's been incredible to see young women want to play at the highest level after they graduate, and whether that's playing professionally in first, second, third leagues over in Europe or over here in the US, like that has been something that's been up and coming since I've been at Brown. So I was there for 8 years, and at the end of the 8 years, there were so many players that had either had the experience or were about to have that experience. And so I think that being able to see players want that, see players being able to have that passion is incredible. And I think that it's so much more than just playing in the NWSL or the US national team. Like those are the highest levels, and that's incredible to aspire to play at those levels. But there's other opportunities to play at the international level, at the professional level, and being able to show women that that is a possibility is something that's grown tremendously in my time as a coach, and being able to witness players step into those experiences that I coached at Brown is for lack of a better word, really cool. But also I think like the better word for that is empowering.
While at Brown, what was it like getting to coach against the teams like Princeton, Harvard, and Yale that are notable?
So they're great teams. We were great. We were a great team as well. I think at one point in time, all of us were in the top 25. Last year, we all got bids to the NCAA tournament. So you're sitting right there between those teams plus us as some of the best teams in the country. And So having that competitiveness on the field, on the sidelines, in training sessions leading up to those games, in film sessions and pregame talks, like it really, as a coach, fires you up. It really gets you excited for the game, but it also just kind of reinvigorates and relights your passions. Like, this is why I do it, because I love the competitive factor. And I think that when you are in that group of teams that constantly are competing, or you're in that group of teams that you're edging and fighting for that conference tournament spot, or that number one seed in the conference tournament, or that spot in the NCAA tournament, you know that the margin for error is so small. And so every piece of that week is really important, and it's really exciting. And I think when you have that energy and that passion to you, so do your kids. It's contagious. And so it was all around a great environment to be in. And that's what makes, I think, coaches and players better, is being in those environments.
What were some of the things that you took over from your time in the Ivy League to then help you to make that transition to become a head coach?
So I know I touched on it earlier, but being able to work alongside some great people and great coaches, I feel like has really truly helped shape who I am. Kia McNeil, I feel like, is a great friend, but she's an amazing mentor. I'm so thankful to have worked for her at Brown. And I wouldn't be sitting here without her and without her guidance and her leadership. So I want to say that to start out, but also to being able to, again, be at Brown for 8 years and really be a part of that, the build to that program as an assistant coach, and then as associate coach. It goes into everything from training to film to recruiting to managing to, camps and clinics to office work and organization. So there's so many different facets to success. And I think that being able to be at Brown was the best blueprint that I could have ever seen or been a part of. And that's why I keep saying that. It's just, there's no other word besides thankful, because I am. I think that when you come into a new program, you have to look at what you have, what you want, and how you want to get there. And I think there's always the element of course, working with what you have and looking at, how can I be organized? How can I be direct with this? How can I be persistent with this? And there's different pieces, right? But it's all towards one goal. So just having different experiences at Brown, from on the field to in the classroom to in the office to in the recruiting game, they all matter. So and then there's no two situations that are alike, but there's a lot of similarities. So, it's reduce and recycle, right? There's some things that you recycle, there's some things that you reuse as well, and there's some things that you can't use as much. But I feel like for a lot of it here is the reuse and the recycle.
What was that feeling like, getting announced to become the next head coach for Illinois State?
Certainly invigorating. I mean, this is a position that I've wanted, and being able to be announced as a head coach is exciting. Of course, it can be scary, it can be invigorating, but ultimately, like, if you're not doing something that you love, then you're not going to be as excited about the outcome. So loving what you do is important. I certainly love being a coach. I love being a student-facing employee. I love the fact that I get to be in the game with women that love the game as well. So being able to be announced as the head coach here felt like a really amazing experience. And I think that, we're looking forward to our first season, of course, as a staff, but, having that experience as being announced was invigorating, to put one word into it.
How was that feeling like the first time you got to step onto that soccer field as the head coach?
Oh, it was great. It was actually my first day on the job, and I was able to walk over to the field and step on it. And it was a field that I've driven by before as a young kid, just driving into the town, since I'm not from too far away. But being able to step on it and say, oh, this is my field, or this is our team's field, was an incredible experience. And it was in the winter too. And it was great because there was actually no snow on the field for like one of the only times in the winter. So being able to actually step on it, like, physically, was awesome. And it was my first day, and I felt like, if I'm stepping on this field and feeling this good now, I'm excited for the future. That's for sure.
Of course, as you said, being so close and living so close in that area and knowing about this program, what was that like, taking over the program that you grew up knowing about?
Definitely an amazing experience. I've always known about the fabulous rapport of Illinois State, athletically and academically. And so being able to work here is an incredible privilege. And I'm really excited about that. I feel thankful for that. And being able to be in the same conference that my dad worked into was incredible. So it was almost full circle in some ways, but more specific to Illinois State, I was really thankful to be here when they announced me. I'm still very thankful to be here now, of course. And I definitely sometimes feel like it's a surreal moment, like a little pinch me, like, am I really here? Did this really happen? Knowing the best things about. So being able to be here as an employee, again, as a student-facing employee, as a head coach it's surreal sometimes still.
What does a typical game day look like for you as a head coach versus for your athletes?
So for me as the head coach, I like to do a pregame talk 2 hours before kickoff just to go over some of the tactics and the scout of the team. But then I let the girls go into the locker room and do what they need to do to be ready for the game, or go into the training room and get taped if needed. And then warm-ups will start at about 45 minutes before the game. And, in that warm-up period, certainly you're getting mentally and physically prepared, but also excited. Music's playing, fans are coming in. Like it's definitely like one of the best feelings I feel like as a player and as a coach. So I want my players to soak that in too. But I mean, I think that for players and coaches, the only real difference is I'm not in the locker room or getting taped, but we're in our offices, which is kind of like our locker room, going over last minute details, or going over last minute thoughts. But ultimately, like, would they go in those 2 hours before kickoff to our pregame talk? Like, I want it to be focused for them and for us as a staff. And I think it just, again, looks different because you're not going back to the locker room. But other than that, both of us are doing what we need to do to be the best for the game.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've built for the women's soccer program?
So, I mean, first and foremost, I'm very new here. So everything that we're working towards is working towards building a strong culture. I have to say, I have girls that want an incredible culture, and they have invested in a very short time into building that, with how they train, how hard they work, the effort that they put into their end product, whether it's on the field or in the weight room, but also in how they want to solve problems, how they want to spend time together. And so I'm really fortunate to have inherited those players, because I think that it's very evident how much they care about the culture that I walked into and how much they care about the culture that they are playing for. So again, fortunate to have that experience, and credit to them, and certainly credit to who they are as people and their character. And I want to continue to build off of that with looking at how can we have the best culture while looking to build a competitive program, and make sure that when people step foot on the campus, on the field, they know that being a Redbird, being a soccer player at Illinois State, it's more than just on the field. It's more than just that training. It's more than just in the weight room. It's everything combined with all of your energy, all of your effort, and your commitment to having a competitive culture while upholding a strong standard, and doing the best that you can for one another to do so.
Who are some of the teams that you face in your conference?
So for us, we're in the Missouri Valley Conference, so same conference as Drake, Valparaiso, University of Illinois, Chicago, Indiana State, Southern Illinois, so on and so forth, Belmont, Murray State, certainly great teams throughout the region. And, we're excited to face them this year. They're all very competitive, very talented. There's not going to be, an easy game. It's going to be difficult, and we respect our opponents. We want them to respect us. And we certainly are looking forward to getting rolling soon.
What is that home game atmosphere like when teams like Drury comes versus going to Belmont State?
So I think that, like, for us, certainly, again, I'm learning everything, as this will be my first home game experience, but just having meetings with marketing staff, they want to make it the best experience for the students, with the community. And I really want to make Adelaide Straight Field, which is our home field, like our 12th man. I want it to be a fun environment to play in. I want it to be a fun environment when it comes to, of course, the activity on the field, but also with the stands and with the people that are coming onto the game, or I'm sorry, coming into the stadium to support the game and support the players. I can't say I know what it's like too much playing on the road here in the Valley, because I've been out on the East Coast at other various institutions, but I know that they're going to have a great atmosphere as well. They're going to have a lot of fans in the stadium, and they're going to be rooting for their team, just like when they come here, then we're going to be rooting for ours. So I think that a lot of soccer stadiums, they put in a lot of effort to having great crowds, and I know that all the schools in the conference will do the same.
As a head coach, what does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to play collegiate soccer?
Everyone's recruiting process is different. There's not a stamp that makes one recruiting process, but I do think that for a lot of players, it's a matter of being identified by us and having the communication to get to know each other. And then for them also too, getting a chance to see the campus. That's important, because they have to know what the environment is like, and what they could potentially be calling home for the next 4 years. So everyone's process is different, but I think the identification process and the getting to know one another could be similar in terms of identifying them at an event and then talking on the phone or doing a Zoom call, and then having a lot of time with them while they're here on campus on their visit.
As a head coach, what is it like seeing those freshmen put on that Illinois State's red and white jersey for the first time?
I mean, I think that this year it's going to be great again. This is my first year, but every time that you see a new freshman class wearing that jersey for the first time, it's really almost like emotional, because you know that a lot of them have worked so hard for this and they've been waiting so long for it. So and you've known them also too for so long, or you've known them since, they were 16, 17 years old. So being able to see them put on the jersey is incredible, and you feel like it's a good start to the rest of their career here. And like, they don't know it maybe at that time because they are in it, but when you're as a coach, you've seen it with you've seen it with so many different classes. Like, you're like, I'm so, like, when you put that on, you're like, I'm so excited for you, because like, you don't know what your 4 years is going to hold, but I know that you're going to have a great experience, meet the best friends, get a great education. And it kind of all starts with you putting on that jersey the first time, just like your teammates are. So maybe they don't know it yet, or maybe they do, but as a coach, it's cool to see.
What is it like getting to see them achieve those high milestones in their career?
Oh, you feel like a proud parent. I mean, like, how hard they've worked for it. The highs and lows. And that there's been times where, they need that extra inspiration. And there's other times where it's inspiring to see how motivated they are on the good days and the bad days. So I think that, like, you definitely feel proud. You definitely feel excited for them, and your heart definitely swells.
What is it like as a head coach getting to see them put on that jersey for the last time and their professional jersey for the first time?
When they wear the jersey for the last time, that is emotional, because it is sad. Like, it is sad in a lot of ways, because it's the closing of a book, it's the end of a chapter. And I the, I always feel like, when they're wearing that jersey for the last time, like, you hug them a little bit tighter, or you certainly, like, tell them how proud you are one more time, even though you've already told them like a million times, because it is an emotional moment, and it's emotional in the way that it is somewhat sad. But it is those 24 hours, you have those emotions, but after that, you have to look back and, like, hopefully just smile on the experience. But in the moment, it is emotional. Putting on the pro jersey, though, like, it's again, it's empowering, I think, is the best word to use for young women, because this is a platform now that they have, and that is incredible to support.
What are some of your future plans for the Illinois State's women's soccer program moving forward?
So like I mentioned, I certainly want to continue to build a strong culture with a commitment to a competitiveness. I think that our school certainly has so many great pieces and so many amazing opportunities to offer student athletes, that I think, being able to look into the future 3 years and 5 years down the line, I certainly want to compete at the highest level of the conference. And it's something that's constantly a work in progress, but it's something that I want to dig into.
What advice would you give those incoming freshmen entering their first year of college women's soccer?
I would say everything that you do with the best intention, to work as hard as you can with the most energy that you have, because when you look back, you want to be able to say, I put everything forward and I have nothing left to give, because when you do, you know that you're making yourself and your team better. And that's how you develop as a player over the 4 years. That's how you help develop a team over 4 years. And that's how you have that commitment to being a part of a competitive team with a strong culture, vying for that top senior conference.
What advice would you give those soccer players looking to play on the NWSL or the U.S. women's national team?
Keep dreaming the dream. The country needs people that, of course, want to play at the highest level and are willing to do whatever it takes to play at that level. And if you shoot for that level and you fall short, you can still find other opportunities to play pro, which again, isn't something that women have had for many, many years. This is the first time that women are having opportunities to play in different divisions in Europe, and in other continents. And so I want people to know that you want to dream to play at the highest level if you want to play pro, but it's also okay to know that you have other opportunities, and that playing pro is an incredible experience, from not from my own experience, but from what I've been told, and what I've seen. And I think that there's certainly a lot to be said for those that want to play at that level. It's certainly not easy by any stretch, but if you keep dreaming that and keeping that that in mind, or keeping that in sight, you're going to be able to obtain a piece to your goal for sure, whether that's playing at the highest level in the US or in another country. But I think that, it's certainly something that we want to encourage people to keep having that dream. It's not something that is common. And so if you want something uncommon, you have to be able to put forth uncommon efforts, but you ultimately want to keep encouraging them to have that wish.
What advice would you give those soccer players out there looking to get started in coaching after their playing career?
I would say coach as much as you can, whether that's working at a local clinic or a local club, because the more you coach, the better you become. But try to get connected as well with other college coaches, see if you can work their camps, see if you can talk to them about their experience, because sharing experiences matters. And I think that connecting with people also helps you build your network, and your network is going to be able to help recommend you for jobs. And also too, like, don't give up. It's something that if you don't get the job that you want right away, or you're not able to find a job that first fall out of college, like, it doesn't mean it's not going to work. So you have to stay persistent, you have to stay connected, and again, don't quit on it if it's something you really want.
What advice would you give those people looking to coach at their alma mater like you have?
Have good relationships, and again, connections with the people that you went to school with and that are in administrative positions. And if opportunities present themselves, certainly, jump at them, but also know that there's a time and place for everything. And if something doesn't work out at one time and place, it doesn't mean it's never going to work out either. So staying positive with that too.
What advice would you give those head coaches looking to get started in coaching and building a soccer program?
I would say coaching is certainly, it's a 24-hour job. So you're always going to be spinning your wheels with ideas. You're always going to be able to look at different pieces to the game and say, I want to implement that or this. And you're going to be, standing in the grocery store thinking, oh my gosh, I just had the best idea, or I have an idea that I want to implement. So certainly be open to learning and growing wherever you are. It's a grind too. So having that work ethic and having that persistence is important, but then also too, like, keep your head. There's definitely days where there's a lot coming across your desk. There's a lot coming onto your plate, and it's okay. I would say it's normal, it's natural, and you just have to deal with everything as it comes. But I would say ultimately, like, if it's something that you want, be willing to sacrifice for it and be willing to put your best effort when it comes to your work ethic forward, because you'll be tested, and that's okay. But everything that you ever want, you're going to have to like go through adversities too. So it's normal to go through that. But I would say ultimately, have your vision in mind, keep your morals and values, and know that there's going to be good and bad days. But if you have your work ethic and your morals and values with you, you're going to be okay.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you on social media along with the program?
So for me personally, like, I try to not be on social media too much. So I can't say too much there just because I'm not very active on social media. But we're Red Bird Women's Soccer on Instagram, and we'd encourage people to follow you there.
Thank you again, Coach Raleigh DeRose, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as the head women's soccer coach at Illinois State.
Thank you.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Raleigh, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Take care. Thanks.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.